Welcome to the Red Raider Coaches Show. I'm your host, Joe Hayes, and I'm here with our head football coach, Keith Goss. And Coach, welcome to another show.
It's great to be here.
Well, Coach, we coming in here with some pretty big smiles this week. I'm super excited. Our boys come off their first win of the season, so it was a pretty big night for us this past Friday night.
The guys played well. Obviously, wins are a byproduct of doing right things over a long enough period of time. And those things are starting to happen for us now.
That's good.
We are doing enough of the right things at a high enough level, and we're starting to have some success with it.
Good deal, Coach. Well, we're proud of you guys, proud of the players, proud of the coaching staff. Great job. We'll go into more detail about the game, Raider Nation. Let Coach talk about it a little bit more. But before we do, I want to get some more of our sponsors some recognition. So let me get them pulled up. Today I'm going to go through our bronze sponsors. All of our platinum and gold sponsors you'll see in the commercials during our break. So they get recognition each week, but we still want to show the love to our other levels. Our bronze sponsors are Georgia Meal Supply, Julie's and Company, Shepherd's Therapy Center, Advantage South, Robert Goodman, Blueberry Mansion and Golf Resort, Alma Pro Wash, and Lassiter Tractor. And Coach, we got a whole bunch of blacks. I'm going to go through them next week because we're going to be sitting here for just a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while to get through those. We got a bunch of them.
Really proud, Coach, of all of our sponsors. Again, our platinum level, we got 6 this year with Industrial Forge, Parker Food Mart, Bacon County Hospital, Southside Church of God, Titan Modular Systems, and Anytime Fitness. And, that's our highest level of sponsorship. And, Coach, I'm still getting phone calls. I had 2 people call me this week asking about what they can do to be a membership or to get a membership and, what's the differences in the packages. So we've still got people reaching out wanting to become part of it.
That's great, and we definitely appreciate all the support. I mean, the football goes far beyond football season. Yeah. And so whenever you feel like you can support the program, that's just wonderful. We operate year round. We do things to feed the guys and work on taking them different places and putting them in the best gear possible and buying the best equipment we can for them. So anything that can be done, that's just, no matter when it is greatly appreciated.
Right. Coach, matter of fact, this week, did you get the stuff ordered?
We ordered a new net for our chute. And the old one had ripped after about 5 years, which that was about time for it to be replaced.
Yeah.
And we got a shiver ball, which Coach Regal has been asking me for a shiver ball for, I think, before he officially accepted the job. So we're happy to have those things on the way and help us.
Coach, tell them real quick, what is a shiver ball?
It's a really heavy round ball, and you can use it on several defensive line drills, and you can even use them on some O-line drills underneath a chute.
Okay.
It's a weighted ball, and originally they were used to roll them at people that used to defend the cut block, but then they found out all these other little cool drills they could do with them over time, and so my D-line coach, defensive coordinator, Coach Regal, is just ecstatic to finally be getting one. So.
Raider Nation, this is just where, a small area of your support's going is to do things like this that are going to continue to better our program. And over the years,
that shiver ball will be around for the next, 20, 25 years. And so it's going to be something that helps, years and years to come.
Absolutely. And we've got sleds down there that the Touchdown Club has bought in years past, and
we bought 2 last year. We bought the Crowther sled and the tackling one-man sled. So just things like that are growing the program.
It is,
and that's exciting. It's always exciting when things like that.
And again, without our Touchdown Club, reaching out and the relationships that everybody has there, and our community, just their faithful support for Red Raider football, and unselfishly giving, Coach, it stands very high in my book.
That the level of support in this community is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so proud to live here and be a part of this community. And I've lived a few different places over my career, and you know, I'm happy to own a home here and be a resident, and plan on being here for a long, long time.
Well, Coach, it's not as easy in certain communities, right? I mean, sometimes you have different challenges. You may not have as many businesses in your town as what we do, you know. So we are very blessed. And again, we thank our Touchdown Club. We thank Raider Nation, all our businesses and individuals in Bacon County, Alma, Georgia, for their support, because none of this would be possible without you guys. So, Coach, let's go into Friday night. Long County comes into town. You know, I think we were all sitting a little bit on pins and needles, you know, just curious of how progression moved through the week, how the players had improved, and I think you guys brought a good product on the field Friday night.
You know, we all knew the first game was not characteristic of what we felt we could be, and we were able to clean up a lot of those mistakes. And you know, I hate that we didn't have a scrimmage this year. I hate, you know, the way the first game turned out, but everything happens for a reason. I feel like our guys grew from it. We have, you know, 5 non-region games before we hit the region schedule, and hopefully we're showing improvement every week building into region play, because that's what determines us going to the playoffs. And so we're looking for growth. No, the first game wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't what anybody wanted. But the growth between game 1 and game 2, I feel was a strong showing. And hopefully we can continue that level of growth between game 2 and game 3 and moving forward.
Coach, what was some of the highlights for you, some good moments offensively Friday night that you would say, okay, this was, you know, what our goal throughout the week in practice, and actually seeing it come about Friday night?
Anytime you rush for close to 300 yards, then you don't turn the ball over. You protect the football, and you rush for close to 300 yards, it's going to be a good night.
So we did Friday night. I'd say Bruce Brown had the most carries.
It was actually split 10 and 10.
Okay.
Guyton had 10, Bruce had 10, and honestly, that's the mixture we're looking for.
Well, Guyton's finally a little bit back healthy. He had tweaked his ankle.
He tweaked his ankle, but it's you know, he's on the mend. You know, you say he tweaked ankle, but he's still separated from their entire team on a 71-yard carry.
Yes.
So, you know, his 90% may be faster than a lot of other guys' 100.
It was funny. Coach, we got home, and my wife, she works in the Raider trailer doing that, and she was like, what was the one play where the player was just running down the field by himself? Like, what happened? Was it a fumble or whatever? Because she couldn't, from where the Raider trailer is located, she couldn't see down the field where the play started. And I said, no, he broke a play, and he went 71 yards to the house.
He was never touched.
Yeah.
We had a good kick, good wrap. The corner came up and tried to fill wide because we've been running so many power reads. And when we run the power read, our ball carrier, be it the back or wide receiver, will try to circle the defense. But on this scenario, the corner was responsible outside, but he fit so hard outside, there was nobody left. And if Jamarion Guyton gets even with the secondary, it's going to be very rare he's caught his sophomore year on. He's extremely fast, tough for one person to bring down, and you know, he works hard in the weight room, and he's starting to bounce off people, and that's starting to show. Where last year, you know, he might try to drag a person or two, but the first guy trying to make contact with him, he's now bouncing off them, or they're bouncing off him, and he's continuing to churn his feet. And it's exciting for the future. You know, him only being a sophomore and running the way he does, you know, just bodes well for what we have coming.
Coach, I think Terrion Moore had a big night offensively. Had 3 touchdowns, and so it was a pretty good night for him.
Yeah, there's, you know, you're not going to have many nights where you leave Terrion Moore out of the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, he rushed for 1 touchdown, received for another 2, made just big play after big play when they need to be made, and that's that's probably going to be fairly common for him. If you defend him one-on-one, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. And Coach Mason, to me, looked a lot more settled in the QB position this week. I know that first game back and coming off of a major injury. It wasn't minor by any means. It was a major injury. And to come back first game, it's hard.
It's tough. But the thing with Mason is he's a competitor.
He is.
And he's a leader. He's a competitor. And yes, he's a senior. But that was his second game. That first Friday night, so a third game now. You're going to see growth in him week by week, and hopefully by the time we're in region play, he's just picking people apart because the arm strength, there's no question. He's got that in spades. He can sling it. But the making sure to making the right reads, having patience, all that's getting better. Every time we go over film, he's a sponge. He's drawing it all in. I'm really excited to see how much he continues to grow week by week.
Right.
So it's an exciting time offensively.
I was proud of our guys offensively. They did a very good job, much improved over last week, penalty wise. And I know that's something you guys worked on every day last week.
And I'm going to go ahead and say this, on camera. The smartest play I saw all night was the restraint by Jarrett Boatwright when he was blocking that guy 15 yards down the field and just dominating the kid. The kid rips off his helmet, and Jarrett didn't retaliate. Not only did we have a gain on the play, but we got 15 yards on top of it. And he was smart enough not to swing back or do anything else and retaliate. And so that became, a big positive there.
That was, Coach. And now that you say it, I forgot I even commented on the radio about it in our radio broadcast. To me, of him holding his composure meant everything.
Yeah,
and that turned in from a big game, like you say, to a huge game.
Right, and we actually finished off that drive with a score. So it's good to see gains like that happening. Yeah. Not everything is about this touchdown and that touchdown. When things like that start happening across the programming, guys start making intelligent plays. Things can really start to grow.
Yeah, Coach, defensively versus Long last week. For me personally, not taking away anything from anybody else, but three names that kind of stand out to me. One, Trent Music had a phenomenal night. Joe Harris, and then Tamarcus Pruitt. They all had some really good plays. There were other players that had great plays too.
There was.
But I know there was one series where I think Joe Harris
made every tackle.
He made every tackle on that series, and then Trent Music.
He ran the alley, and that's it was impressive the way he ran the alley. He met that running back or wide receiver on the speed sweep. He met him 2 yards deep. And when your safety learns how to read it and run the alley and can meet somebody on a speed sweep for no gain or a loss, dropping somebody for a tackle for loss, he's starting to see the game. He's
only a sophomore, Coach.
The entire defensive backfield we started last week was sophomores.
Yeah.
So that was, yes, we had our growing pains last year, but now we have some guys that are just sophomores making varsity level plays.
Yeah.
And we have them for 2 more years after this one.
And that's really exciting, Coach. That gives me chills just thinking about it. That we're going to return that much experience next year, and then we still get them for another year after that. Typically, as you start to see this come to fruition, it usually you either have one more year or it's their last year.
Right. Our defense right now, our starting defense, I think has only 4 seniors.
Yeah.
So they're starting to play at a higher level, and there's still a lot of youth on the field. It's not a senior-laden defense.
Okay. Well, Coach, again, defensively, phenomenal job. We held Long County to 6 points. I don't know how many yards rushing, but I can't remember them ever getting a huge play on us. We pretty much kept them contained all night. You know, they picked away here or there, but
I can only think of one, that the old bubble that got loose a little bit, but our guys corralled him up and
that's right. We did. We called him, run him down, and called him. So there was
Right.
one.
But if you
big
can
game
only pick
play.
one and they only get one score on the night and you get 30 plus, that ain't so bad.
No, sir. It's not. It's not at all. Well, again, congratulations, Coach.
Thank
We're
you.
excited for you and the players and Raider Nation. Glad to see your excitement out there and, you know, and everybody. It was a big win for Bacon County. And, Coach, we hope the success continues forward and the guys continue to improve. We know they are. We know you're working hard. They're working hard. So, you know, these things are going to come. We just, luckily, as Raider fans, we get to sit back and spectate it all. So this week, Coach, we've got Berrien County coming into home. So we've got 3 back-to-back games. It's rare that you get that privilege to have 3 home games in a row. So we're pretty thankful for that.
Yeah, that's been a good start to the season where we haven't had to get on the bus and we're going to hit a stretch here.
That's right.
After this,
There's a downside to it.
There's a downside to it. We're going to be away 2 games, have an open week, and be away for another 2 games. And part of that was the way the region schedule fell. And once I got those, the region schedule, and there was really no way to. There's 6 teams in our region, so you're going to have 5, region games, and we happen to have only 2 region home games.
Yeah.
So then it was sorting out with the non-region schedule who could do what, and that's just the way it fell this year.
I got you. So what can we expect against Berrien? They're coming off of they won against Long in their season opener, won pretty big, and then they went to Lanier last week and got beat pretty bad. So they're going to be down, wanting to come back in and make improvements this week and make an example against us. You know, are they the typical Berrien County team that we've seen in past? Have they got anything special offensively?
Well, they got old, hired gun, old retired coach come in and help them offensively. Dipper Davis, who's been around the block. He's been with a few different programs earlier in his career and always done a good job offensively. Coach Allie Good's going to do a good job. I worked with him years and years ago in Tifton, and just a good man.
Right.
Going to run a quality program. So their guys are going to do the right things, and their guys are going to work hard. I wouldn't expect anything less from a team coached by those 2 men.
I got you. Well, Coach, we hope everybody comes out. It's going to be a big night, just not because we're facing Berrien County here at home. It's a really big night, too, because we've got the first inaugural inductees into the Wall of Fame. And this is something that I think, to me, is probably one of the most important things since I've been here that I've had a privilege to be a part of and see come into this program. That this is the biggest thing I've seen. The impact that it can make to our program.
Right. A lot of this started with getting film footage and talking about a need to recognize great teams and great players in our program. And there was nothing established for that. And we had these discussions in the Booster Club, and it kind of grew from there.
Right.
There's been a lot of people putting a lot of hours on this, but I think it's been great for our community. I think a lot of people, maybe got an opportunity to see their dad in a different light for the first time. Yep. on some film that was found, and see their father as a young man competing on the field, not just the old guy that raised him.
Yep.
And those are special things. And I'm honored and humbled to have a small part of it.
Yeah, same here, Coach, same here. So let's take a quick break, Coach. When we come back, I want to talk a little more about the Wall of Fame, kind of how it got started and how it got to where it's at today, and then also talk about the inductees that are going to be honored this Friday night. And again, this is something for Bacon County to be very, very proud of. And like you said, a lot of work has went into this, and and I think it's something that we all of Raider Nation can hold on to for many, many years to come, and our children's children. to carry on these traditions as well, and for Bacon County football to live forever, Coach.
There you
as
go.
long as we can keep it going. So let's take a quick break, get our sponsors some recognition, and we'll be right back with you shortly after the break. Raider Nation, welcome back to the Red Raider Coaches Show. Coach, so again, we're coming off big win last week, Long County. Huge home game this week again. Going to face Berrien County, and Coach, it's a really big night with the Wall of Fame going on. And I wanted to go a little more into detail and explain this to Raider Nation, and hopefully give them a lot of encouragement to come out as well to support this and help us honor it and give these inaugural inductees the recognition that they deserve, and what the intentions are in the future and down the road. This isn't a one-year thing.
Right.
So, when this first came off the ground, there was a couple of alumni that had got together, and and I don't know that it was well perceived by very many. They didn't. It's always hard to sell something up front,
Right.
and to go into full depth of what's everything that's in your mind, what your intentions are, and some of these things, sometimes, Coach, you may not know what all your intentions are at the moment. You just know that you want to get it rolling and off the ground, and
Right. We want to get something to have our community, have pride in.
right,
And things, recognition of the good things that have happened, and the players the great players that have been a part of this program in this community. And we had to figure out, the best way to go about it.
yeah, and and all of that kind of started coming together, Coach. That those alumni that said, what, we're going to do this, and I commend those guys for having the passion and the desire to push through when not everybody was seeing eye to eye on how's this going to get off the ground, and how's this who's going to pay for this. And I'll tell you, some of those guys, man, they pay for this stuff out of their pocket, Coach. Like those first posts and like boosting stuff and putting it out there, they were paying their own money out of their own pocket. And this wasn't no touchdown club money. This wasn't no school money. This wasn't money donated, from other places. This was
to get it off the ground. That's true.
Yeah.
And then, as we got more people involved, we got a lot of support from a lot of different places.
Well, once it started picking up and you started seeing the response, it grew pretty quickly.
Right.
Once it hit, everybody was like, whoa, what's this? What's going on? I want more. And as a Red Raider fan, Coach, I was that way. I'm like, Otis Robinson, man, this guy, how did I not know this name? I've been part of Bacon County football for 22 years, and how did I miss this name? He didn't play in the 22 years I've been in the program, but he wasn't far behind me.
Right.
So what happened? Why did this name not carry over?
Why this information, how did it get left out of time?
Yes. So, and a lot of what those alumni were talking about was things that I was experiencing as a fan. I was like, okay, and I was excited to learn about these guys. And, when I seen Bill All pop up, and I start reading his credentials and what he did, I got really excited, because it just made me proud to be able to know who the first D1 scholarship athlete was for Bacon County. Just having that knowledge, Coach, and being able to absorb it and pull it in, because
Right.
I want to know as much as I can about Bacon County football. But those guys pushed it through, got it going. The Touchdown Club stepped up, got involved in this thing. Then the Lions Club stepped in.
Donated a large donation to
make the wall actually possible.
Possible.
That's right. So Raider Nation, one thing you're going to see is on the concession stand, the front side where the ticket booths are, you're going to see some plaques on the wall. There's still going to be more to come. It's kind of last minute here, getting this stuff in due to COVID, trying to get things brought in, and but it is going up on the wall. It will be here. Hopefully the majority of it will be here by Friday night. There's 2 little BC logos that I think that are going to be maybe next week before they're finally placed up there. They're just not making it here, but in time for that. But we're going to have some BC logos up there. It's just not going to be the actual real fancy. It may be just like a poster board that we make and put up there. But anyway, it's something very proud for us. It's something that these players can walk by every game and they see. And Coach, if I'm a player, you and I have hung out together. We're both competitive people. If we're playing tic-tac-toe, we're competitive, right? I mean, we want to win. If I'm a player and I'm walking by that wall of fame, what have I got to do to be able to try to get my name to be on that wall?
And it's not just that. You see a name. Well, why is he up there?
Yeah.
And
and learn the history.
Learn the history of the program. Learn what you're a part of.
Yeah.
Because you're a part of our history here now.
Yeah.
And things are developed that way in programs, not places that are trying to just build, have a team every year, but a program. In a program, you take pride in your history and you build from it.
Absolutely. Coach, one of the alumni that kind of got this off the ground, he started once we were trying to collect data. It was hard to come by, and wanting to you were a big push of let's find some statistics of what the record field goal is and what luckily that was one record we knew.
Right, that was an easy one to find. But
rushing yards,
right.
The season leader, all-time rushing record holder, and who has the most passing yards, and just all these things. So, this one guy just went down and just spent hours and hours and hours at libraries going through the old, what do you call them, Coach? The microfiche, yeah.
I think it's microfiche.
Oh, our kids wouldn't even know what to do with them things. That's all we had at the library back when we went to school. But
that's true.
Going through those microfiche and looking at all the old newspaper articles and collecting, yards and keeping up with every single game and writing them down and the players and what their season totals were. And Coach, when we have known, but it hasn't been just broadcasted or put where public knowledge can see it. Bacon County started football in 1951. We were the Bacon County Bees, okay, and that was from 1951 to 55. In 1956 is when we became the Bacon County Red Raiders. So a new school, new mascot. I don't completely know why they changed from the Bees to the Raiders. I know they've kind of found out some of that information, but maybe that's something we can share later on. And but from 1956 to present, we've been the Bacon County Red Raiders. Coach, another thing, a lot of people, for whatever reason, would say, if you hit a 4 or 5 year stretch, and let's say you have some tough seasons in that era, all of a sudden they forget about the successful seasons of the past. Right. I'm going to see if I can get this from memory. I'm going to try my best, Coach. So, successful seasons, we've had 30 years of successful football where it's been 500 or better. So they won 5 games or more. We've had 30 years of success. So from 1956 to today, we've had 30 successful years, which is good for Bacon County, which is a relatively young football program where you've got schools like Thomasville that started football in the 1800s.
Right.
The late 1800s. So it for us to be that young, 30 is a big number. The most successful seasons that we had 1962, 1978, 1979, 1987, 1988, 1991, 92, 1998, and we had 2005, and then we had 2011, 2012, 2014, and 2017. So that's our most successful years that we've had, the most successful teams that have went to state playoffs or made region titles, things of that nature. So a lot of this data started coming out, and Coach, I swear I read every single everything that the Wall of Fame was putting, every post, I read every single one of them, every player, every pitcher, just because I wanted to learn as much as I could and
Right.
about these people and
Oh, man,
the ones that made our program what they are today.
Right. I mean, I looked at it, and it was great. Some great information for me. This is only my second season here, and looking at different players and coaches from the past, and seeing who's won the most games here, and seeing who's had the longest stretch here as head coach. It's all great history to learn.
Right. It is. And Coach, another thing that come out of this, we found out Aubrey Carter is all-time passing leader for Bacon County, or single season record holder passing leader for Bacon County. Tongue twister. We've got Anthony Madison, which is a single season rushing leader for Bacon County. Otis Robinson is
The
career rushing leader for Bacon County. Just being able to give these players the recognition that they deserve, that, hey, I am the record holder, and it gives your players today something to shoot for. They actually know what that number is. They know that they've got to run for 1,823 yards to break the record. As long as they have that number there, they've got a goal to shoot for. But last year, we didn't even have that number.
No, there's a lot of things that had to be found,
right,
and through history, and so it's exciting now to have something in place for the community and the players, and it's great. It's always great when you got a target to shoot for.
Absolutely, Coach. Let's talk about these inaugural inductees, and Raider Nation, I want you to know that this isn't going to be the only year that we have inductees into the Bacon County Wall of Fame. So we every year new inductees will be honored. So this is just the inaugural year that we've got this initial group of guys, and it was a big selection process for the ones that made this decision to go through and kind of tally up who is the top generation from each era, from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
And they had somebody representing every decade.
That's right.
In that group.
Yes.
So it was a good group of men who have been in Bacon County and been Red Raiders their whole life, or were in the program. So it was exciting for a lot of those guys to be a part of it.
Yes.
And get in there, get the information out, talk through the process, and come up with this, our list of guys.
Yeah, and some of it got critiqued. I think this guy was the biggest one was like some of this Russian stuff. And somebody would bring some information, and then we would go try to fact check it, and we'd be like, you know what, they're correct. So we need to add this guy to the list or whatever. It got critiqued. It went over for a long period of time and discussed by those alumni, and they voted on this initial group. And Coach, let's go through the group. I can sit here and piddle paddle all day, but sometimes you might have to just stop me and say, all right, Joe, let's keep it rolling. Because you got practice, or you got work to do this afternoon, so we won't keep you too much longer, Coach. So the first coach is a coach. We got Coach Arnold Gutierrez. He was head coach at Bacon County from 1962 to 67. He was the 1962 head coach of the year. His 1962 team finished 9th in the state. In 1962, they were 7-1-2, was 1 point away from being undefeated, 3 points away from being perfect. Was the winningest coach in BC history until Tony Rigdon broke his record in 2002. Coach, I don't know yet if it got worked out. Some of his family was going to come, but I think they had a family member get sick.
Right.
Not sure yet if it's going to be a player that played for him that's going to come receive the award, or if it's going to be one of his family members. But we did find some of his family in Reedsville. I say we. the Wall of Fame. They did.
Right.
They were able to, and I think they ran a newspaper article over there, which is pretty exciting, you know, and their family was excited to and honored that, you know, their
the
family
committee went through that much trouble to
Yes.
find them, because we've been searching for somebody in his family for a while through Facebook. I contacted a former coach that used to work over in that area.
Right.
And he didn't really know. So it was, you know, it was definitely an act of love to hunt down, you know, some family members.
Yeah. Coach, next is Coach John Deloach. He was the head coach from 1977 to 1980. He was 24-17 overall record. 1978, coached the first team to make the playoffs in Bacon County history. He made the playoffs in 1978 and 1979, back-to-back playoff berths, Coach. This man meant a lot to me. When I moved to Bacon County, he was my next-door neighbor. And the first day I was there, we met in the corner of our yard, and he asked me who I was, and told him I was from Dixie Union, and he said, do you have an uncle named Marvin? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, I served in the military with your uncle. And I said, okay, I was in the military too. And he saw my boys run through the yard, and he's like, your boys play football? And I said, yes, sir. My oldest, he's, you know, we started him at flag at Bacon County, and he's like, well, here's who you need to go to down at the rec department. And he says, do you coach or do you help? And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, we need to get you involved with our varsity team, and I'm, you know, work with the school, or I'm on the school board, and we become really good friends. And he was a very, I don't know that I wouldn't be where I am today with Bacon County football if it wasn't the inspiration that he gave me. And he was a salesman, John Deloach was, boy. He was a salesman, and he got me excited about Bacon County football. And
that's something coming from a salesman.
Yeah, and that's something coming from a salesman. So he beat me at my own trade here, and he hook, line, sinker, pulled me in, and man, he was a phenomenal guy, phenomenal family. He was a great recruiter. People said getting kids out of the hallways and getting them to come out and play football. My brother-in-law actually played for him, so I got to hear stories, you know, from them, and just cool stuff, you know, and I think it's a great honor to see him getting recognized, Coach. Next, we got Coach Tony Rigdon. He was the head coach from 1984 to 1987, 2002, and 2003. He was 1987 Region 2AA Southwest champ. The team was in 1987. In 1987, he was the coach of the year. 1987, the team finished in the top 10 in the state. Also in 1987, the team made the playoffs. Records. He's the most wins in a season, which was 1987 with 9 victories. And he is also the winningest coach in Bacon County history with 30 victories. Coach Rigdon still lives in Bacon County. He was kind of another neighbor of mine once we moved from the Lake Lure area out to the Geisey community, and we lived out there. And funny story with him, Coach, we were going to church. I'm driving, and my boys were acting up, cutting the fool in the truck. I'm trying to get them prepared for us to go into church as we're driving, and they did something, and like I reached over to snatch whatever away from one of them. And when I looked up, I kind of got sucked off the road, and I ran right over his mailbox. And I was just like, oh my goodness, we're going to be late for church. I've run over the man's mailbox. So I go up to the house, knock on the door. Nobody was there, so I write a note. And I leave it on the door, and the boys were like, Daddy, why'd you put that? Nobody, and they were little, you know. Yeah. And I was like, it's character, you know, and it was a life lesson for them. And they said, well, nobody's seen you. I said, you never know that. I don't know who may have been sitting on their front porch or who was down the road or whatever. And anyway, I called him after church and got a hold of him. He said, don't worry about it. He said, I had it too close to the road anyway. My wife fussed at me, and he said, I've already took care of it, put it back up, and don't even worry about it. And I tried to offer him money, wouldn't take it. Just a fine man, fine man. I know that was a lot going in there, but you know, that was, I knew him prior to that. He coached my nephews. He was head coach when I first come into Bacon County football. You know, and just another great man of the community to Bacon County. And we're super excited for him and his family. And again, congratulations to him. Next, we've got Coach David Ward. 1990 to 93, he was the head coach. 1991 Region 2 AA runner-up. 1991 Sweet 16 GHSA State Playoffs. 1992 Region 2 AA champs. Records, back-to-back playoff berths in 91-92. First playoff victory in Bacon County history against Waycross in 1991. And he set the school record in 1991 with the most games played in a season with 12 games, Coach. He's going to be here to speak to the players in the morning. Super
Right.
excited about that.
Yeah, they're Booster Club guys and the Wall of Fame guys. They were telling me that he was fired up to come speak, and so that will be a cool experience.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. I know we got to move on, and I don't want to give these guys any credit that they're not due, but my favorite learning here, Coach, was Bill All, 1950s, 4-year letterman. First All-State player in Bacon County history. First team All-State in 1957. He was a pivotal weapon on offense and defense. First player in Bacon County history to play in the GACA All-Star Game at Grant Field at Georgia Tech. 1958, he was GACA All-Star player. He was also the first player in Bacon County history to receive a Division I scholarship, which was to Georgia Tech. Good information. I was just excited. I'm like, this guy was legit.
Yeah.
And not ever have heard of that name, and him to kind of be a trendsetter to me for Bacon County. I wanted to know that name and never forget it. So I think that's why it means a lot to me. While we're speaking to players or whatever, this guy did it before anybody else did. He stepped up when he was a leader. When
he was the first.
He was the first. He was. So it just means a lot. And there's still things that players today can be a first to do, I think. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to reach these accomplishments and these goals like he did. Whether it's 1957 or it's 2020 or 22, Coach, correct?
Correct.
So, next, Coach, I think you might have a little tie to this, so I'm going to let you mention his name.
Talking about Jimmy Ropey?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had the fortune of meeting Mr. Ropey years and years ago when I very first started teaching and coaching. I coached alongside his son. And so, being friends with Chris, I got to meet his dad a few times, but, I really didn't know his history in our program until a lot of this stuff came up. And they're talking about Jimmy Ropey, and they're like, Chris's dad. I was like, well, yeah, I met him, but, I met him 15 years ago. I didn't know any of his accolades or the things he accomplished. I heard Chris say, my dad was a beast. That was pretty much the end of the conversation.
Right.
And he was right.
Yeah.
His dad was a beast. And we've...
Absolutely. So let's mention some of these accolades. So Jimmy Ropey, the 1960s. Coach, he was a 4-year letterman, halfback and defensive star on the 62 team that finished 9th in the state. 1962 helped beat the highly ranked Jeff Davis in the last game of the season. He played offense and defense. He was a part of the 1962 7-1-2 9th ranked team in the state. That was 1 point away from being undefeated, 3 points away from being perfect. In 2003, this is what stood up to me, and I remember this about him that made an impression on me. In 2003, Jimmy, in his mid-60s, suited up and played in the Red Raider Old Timers game. And Coach, when I tell you I was on the sidelines, and when that man went in and he come off, he was pouring sweat, boy. But son, when I tell you he was the most physical player on that football field, everybody was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I hope when I'm 60 years old that I've got that physical ability. I'm not, because this man was a hard worker. And
last thing to go is the punch.
Yeah.
Feet might not run as fast.
Yeah.
The last thing to go is that striking power.
Well, he definitely had it, and I just remember that night going home and talking with the head coach at the time after the game. I'm like, who was that guy, the older gentleman? He was the oldest guy out there, and he told me, I was like, holy cow, that was impressive. You know, he went out there, and I'm talking about was a bulldog coach. Played extremely well, and that was an exciting thing back then. Coach, next we've got Nicky Sermons, the 1970s. He was a 4-year letterman. He played on offense and defense. First team All-State quarterback, 1979. He was 15-6-1 as starting QB in 78 and 79. Invited to the 1979 GACA All-Star Game. In 1978, Nicky had threw historic game-winning touchdown pass to Frederick Wilson in the closing seconds of the last game in the regular season against Jeff Davis, propelling Bacon County to its first official playoff berth in school history. That's a big.
Yeah, that's a big moment.
That's a big moment. So he quarterbacked Bacon County to back-to-back playoff berths in 78 and 79, and in 1979, Nicky had approximately 1,000 yards rushing for the season. So it's pretty crazy even in those times to have that many rushing yards and be a quarterback as well. So
yeah, there's the style of offense. The quarterbacks ran a lot, but still, that's a ton of yards.
Absolutely. Next, this is another exciting one for me, Coach, was Otis the Bull Robinson.
Bull, yeah, I saw the nickname and I was intrigued.
And you can see it. He's got that Herschel Walker look to
he looks the part.
Yeah, he does.
There's no doubt.
He was a 4-year letterman from 1984 to 1987. He started in 41 straight games.
I thought that was the most impressive piece of information on there. It's so hard to start every game.
Absolutely.
From the time you step on the field as a freshman.
Yes, and my hat goes off to him. And that was some physical football back then. And I watched some of that film, Coach, and them boys didn't play. You know, it was physical, rough nose. I mean, son, old school. Put your helmet.
A little wishbone football.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, he started in 41 straight games, 1,133 yards rushing in 1987. He played on offense and defense. He was a workhorse of the historic 1987 9-2 team. He played on a team that finished in the top 10 in 1987. He played on the 1987 playoff team, averaged 78.9 yards rushing per game in his career. So that's a good average for a career.
You're not talking about one season. You're talking about when you might not have been the full-time guy as a
That's
freshman,
right.
And then when everybody knows you're getting the ball by the time you're a senior.
Absolutely. He is the all-time rushing leader in Bacon County history with 3,233 yards. Next, we've got the 1990s and the final inductee, Van Jones. Van was a 4-year letterman, played on offense and defense. First team All-State 1993 for linebacker. 1993 GACA All-Star Bobby Dodd Stadium at Georgia Tech. 1991 Region 2 runner-up. 1991 he was part of the Sweet 16 GHSA state playoffs. In 1992 he was part of the Region 2 AA champions. Two-time 1,000-yard rusher in 92 and 93. Back-to-back playoff appearances in 91 and 92. Another just big accolades there, Coach, for players. And that concludes our inaugural list of inductees.
Right. Which is, I think, a strong group of men there that have,
Absolutely.
that have meant a lot to this community and program.
And Coach, there's years we haven't touched on, so that, this inaugural group is coming up to the 90s. We haven't even got to the 2000s, the 2010s, and those times will come.
Right, those times will come. I mean, there's only so many to grab from the 50s.
Yes.
And then, once we feel like we've met that group and that number, we'll slide up a decade.
Yep. So Raider Nation, you want to get here early. You want to get here, I would say, 6:45. Just come on and come early. It's not going to hurt you. Get you a good seat, get settled, get you some popcorn and a drink from the concession stand, and it's going to be a really exciting night. Let's make this inaugural night a big night. With the amount of work that's went into it, the accolades of these gentlemen that I just read, they're a big part of Bacon County history. A lot of them or their family members or previous players are going to be here So it's going to be a big night. There's going to be people that you haven't seen, that haven't been here for a while. So, you know, come on, socialize. Let's see everybody. Let's support this and give it the recognition that it deserves. And I know Raider Nation will. The crowd coach will also help with the game. So don't leave after the Wall of Fame. Let's stay for there. Make sure you bring a mask. If you're put into a situation where you can't social distance, that you can put your mask on. So bring that out with you just in case. Coach, I think we've taken up so much time, we'll make sure next week we cover who the breakfast is going to be and all that stuff to get those guys the recognition. But it's been pretty long, and I know you guys need to get to work, and Brent's got work to do as well. But I want to thank BCTV, Brent Johnson, for all that they do to help make this production possible. And Coach, we thank you and your coaching staff and the players. Hard work this week, and we wish you guys all the success in the world tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Horns up.
Horns up. Go Red Raiders.